It is our wild Wednesday War Room trio for one last time before the voting. They're here to share their keen insights into a campaign that, as we were talking about with Omar, is starting to move around in mysterious ways. Well, here they are. Jenny Byrne was the mastermind behind the Harper election campaign. She's in Toronto. Carleen Verheyen inside the Liberal War Room, which is today is doing battle in Regina. And Anne McGrath, Chief of Staff to former NDP leader Jack Layton. Let's start with this Obama tweet, Jenny. I mean, I'll start with you because I always thought Barack Obama might support a fellow American, Andrew Scheer, but he seems to want to do the bromance thing with his buddy Justin. Does this do anything in Canadian voter mentality?
No, I don't think so. I think it's got the media and the chattering class all in a Twitter, so to speak. But I don't.
Okay.
I don't really think. I don't really think the average Canadian is paying much attention. It's just another elite celebrity endorsement for Justin Trudeau by a multimillionaire who can't even vote for him. So I'm really not sure, other than us having something more interesting to talk about than we have in the last few days. I'm not sure really what it matters.
Yeah. It's a little more interesting, but all right, Carleen, I'm sure you're going to say this is the blessing from above for your guy, Justin Trudeau.
Well, Don, I think the first thing I'd say is that the Liberal campaign is focused, as they always have been, on talking to Canadians and connecting with Canadians. And I think that everybody knows that that's the most important thing that you can do in an election campaign. It's more important than any endorsement or validation from anybody. And that's what you saw the campaign do over last weekend with advanced polls, was really focus on getting out the vote. That to say, I mean, I think that it's an interesting development. I think that it might do some interesting things around coalescing the support of progressive voters in Canada behind the one person who can become Prime Minister on October 21st, who's a progressive. And so I think it will certainly spark some conversations around kitchen tables, and that's never a bad thing.
All right, Anne, I'm not sure, but I think it's likely that Justin Trudeau called in a favor, or one of his campaign workers. Do you think this changes anything?
I don't think it changes a lot. I mean, I think celebrity endorsements are awesome. They're great. Like, for one thing, they make your war room feel fantastic.
Rihanna might endorse your guy. Who knows?
That's right. And there are several. He's going to probably get several endorsements. As a matter of fact, he got a very critical one today, and that was when the Green Party candidate in Edmonton Strathcona quit and endorsed the NDP as the best option for climate change.
Oh, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, so I think that's a probably more significant endorsement.
But it was in Edmonton.
In Edmonton Strathcona, which is a seat that we hold. Yep. And he said the best chance to defeat the Conservatives and to have climate, have a climate be a priority is to endorse the NDP.
So these celebrity endorsements, they work? Did you get some with Jack Layton?
Yeah, the celebrity endorsements, they pump up your tires a bit. They make your kind of your war room and your people feel good. The troops feel great and everything like that, and it's fun. I'm not sure they have a much bigger, especially when they come from outside the country. Mm-hmm. Obama is, he's loved obviously by progressives, but progressives in Canada are looking at who's the best option for them. And as I've said before, I think that they feel, Obama's endorsement or not, they feel disappointed in Justin Trudeau and the Liberals.
So a Trump endorsement wouldn't help Andrew Scheer? I'm not going to go there. All right, I'm kidding. I want to move on because Andrew Scheer and Justin Trudeau are doing something a little different now. Andrew Scheer, he's talking about a majority Conservative government coming his way. Justin Trudeau's warning that a Conservative government could be coming our way. I'm wondering if either of those approaches is smart strategy. Carleen, what do you think?
Well, I think what Justin Trudeau is doing there is he's being very upfront with Canadians about what the choices we have are before us on October 21st. We're either going to wake up with Justin Trudeau as our Prime Minister, or we're going to wake up with a government that doesn't believe in climate change, doesn't believe that gender equality is a priority, all of these things that we know Canadians aren't really buying into. And one of the messages that you've heard from the Trudeau campaign for the entire campaign is that Canadians have a choice to make to keep moving forward, as the campaign says, or to go back to the Harper years. Those really are the choices, and I think Trudeau is presenting it as a stark contrast.
I'm going to stop you before you go any further, because the question I want to know is, it's smart for Justin Trudeau to, for the first time in this campaign, suddenly start sounding the alarm about a Conservative government. Have you not therefore put that idea at play in the electorate, Carleen? And is that smart?
But I think that people have always known that there were two distinct possibilities for the outcome of this election: a conservative government or a liberal
acknowledged
government.
it before. Okay.
Well, I think that he's always
All
been
right,
very
Jen.
clear when he says there's two choices.
Well, okay.
Well,
Jenny Byrne, I'm wondering if it's dangerous for Scheer to say majority government could be coming our way, because voters that are undecided might not want a majority conservative government. They might want a minority conservative government. What do you think?
Well, I think what voters definitely don't want is a majority liberal government. And I think that it's actually been a bit late in the election cycle for the Liberals to start the fear-mongering and the typical end of campaign rhetoric that they have in terms of that it's their vision or no one else's in this country. But I think what has been clear is people are tuning away from the Liberals, and we're seeing that in the polls. This Prime Minister, the shininess has worn off. The celebrity endorsements won't work, and people are looking for change. Just
hold your thoughts for a second. I just want to break away because Yves-François Blanchet is doing a little media chat here. I don't know if he's doing a media one or if we're just having a look-see, but there he is. He's having a little event there, and so let's listen in for a second.
It's kind of funny. However, they cannot substantiate that. For the last few days, we have been observing the leaders going all around the place, and nobody is presenting any proposition anymore but us. We are still presenting offers and propositions and positions to the Quebecers every day, and we will keep doing that until the end of the campaign. It is not a show. It is not to entertain people that we do a campaign. It's because we have something to say, something to offer, something about which people will have to make a decision and a choice. And we will keep doing that instead of simply presenting the funny thing of the day.
And further to that point, the Liberals are saying that, yes, you are, of course, defending Quebecers' interests, but they're saying that when they could do it better because they would be, for example, a governing party and you would be the opposition. So they would have more power to do that.
Let's try it. If what they propose is good for Quebec, we will vote in favor of it. If what they propose is not good for Quebec, we will fight them. But between those two positions, we will have discussions, we will negotiate things, and our job will be to make sure that there's always something good for Quebec in the project, in the law, in the budget, in the credits. That's the job we are offering the people of Quebec to do. And it seems, but I don't know yet, that the answer to that is pretty positive from Quebecers. So no party has nothing to fear from us if what they offer is good for Quebec.
And how would you define success on election night? Is there a seat target for you, or how?
It's kind of nice to hear from him. Let's bring Ann McGrath back in. He says he got nothing to fear from the Bloc, but that's a news bulletin to the Liberals and Conservatives. They're kind of nervous about him. But I do want to get back to the point about, should Scheer be saying I got a Conservative majority government on the way, and should Trudeau be warning that is a possibility?
I think that there is increasing evidence in this campaign that Canadians are fed up with having leaders say you have to vote for us or else you will get that. And that's, I think, what is making people take a second look at the NDP and Jagmeet Singh. I think because he is not saying don't vote for them or you'll get this. He's saying vote for us because this is what you want. We have the policies and the program that progressive Canadians are looking for, and we have a track record that shows that we will fight for those things. So he's basically saying don't vote out of fear, vote out of hope.
Okay, we're going to be talking a bit later about the Ontario battleground, but we do have some new numbers from Nanos from the 905 area code. That's kind of interesting. That's sort of the circle around, that's suburban Toronto, and that seems to be showing a fairly stark drop in Conservative support, down about 8%. But keep in mind the margin of error is 5%, give or take. So I'm curious, Jenny, we saw a Liberal surge last go-round in 2015. You were in the epicenter of the Conservative war room then. Are you concerned that those numbers, that the same thing might be happening again?
Well, I think that what we saw last election was there wasn't a last-minute surge. I think that the Liberals started to increase their support nationwide, nationally in the last election, the first week of October, and slowly rose, which is not what we're seeing. I think that I'm going to say what I've said for the last week. I think that the landscape is saturated with phone calls. I think you've got up to 15 polling companies that are sending out regular daily updates. I think that you've got all the political parties, especially the three of us, the three parties that are represented here, are doing last-minute voter ID and GOTV calls, and I'm not sure that anyone has a firm grasp as to what's going on the ground, except for the campaigns as they're watching their voter ID numbers and analyzing what vote they got out for the advance polls.
All right, Carleen, take me into the Liberal war room now. Are these numbers what you're hearing through other polls? Is there a 905 switcheroo coming down the pipe, or was this a poll that was, in margin of error, made it kind of less significant?
Well, I think Jenny's absolutely right about where the campaigns all are at this point in the writ period. All of those tactics and activities that she described, that's exactly what all the campaigns are shifting their focus to increasingly. But as a strategist, as somebody in the war room of any party, what I'm doing right now, if I'm seeing those numbers, is I'm thinking back to, okay, well, what's happened in the last 7 to 8 days or so that would be reflected in those polls. And there's one thing that sticks out to me, and that's the release finally of the Conservative platform. And what that did with all of that costing in there was it confirmed for everybody who was looking at it that the cuts that we were concerned about seeing from the Scheer campaign were indeed real, cuts that are 4 or 5 times the size of the Doug Ford cuts in Ontario. And I think it's resonating really badly with people, and that's a big part of what you're seeing reflected in those poll numbers.
Yeah, do you think that's true, Anne? Like, it's all about the cuts and they imagine what could be worse than Doug Ford's cuts?
I think the cuts have an impact for sure. I think that they are, they are very alarming, especially, in places that have Conservative provincial governments. They are very alarming. And of course, the Liberal strategy in all of this is going to be to make the connections to the Conservative provincial premiers.
Every time they open their mouth.
Absolutely. Yeah. But again, I go back to this idea that you don't have to, Jagmeet's thing of like, you don't pick between Mr. Denay and Mr. Delay. It's the same thing on these things. You don't have to vote for what you're not comfortable with, what you're not happy with, in order to prevent something else. You can actually vote for what you believe in. And I think seeing Jagmeet and Olivia Chow in Hudson today, in Jack's hometown, at the Jack Layton Park and then at his high school, it really revives and resonates not only with Quebecers, but outside of Quebec as well. He's loved, and I think that Jagmeet's campaign really reminds progressive voters of what we lost when we lost Jack Layton, and it gives them hope for that kind of politics again.
All right, Jenny Byrne, just some parting thoughts from you on this campaign and the tactics that are being deployed and how you overcome the fear factor about these cuts.
Well, and I think that we're talking about efficiencies in the platform that have been laid out. But I think that what Canadians are going to be looking at now is they're going to be looking at an alternative to this high spending, high taxing, corrupt government that with a prime minister who has been sanctioned several times by the ethics commissioner, and they're going to be looking for a change in the next 5 days.
All right, we are getting very close. I asked you for a prediction, but I think I know what each of you is going to say. But I want to find out I'm going to ask Anne McGrath. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think that the Conservative numbers have been coming down. I think they're going to continue to come down. And I think that gives a lot of freedom and liberty to progressive voters to make the choice for the NDP because they don't feel that pressure that they normally feel. I think that the danger of a Conservative government, it doesn't feel like it's there anymore. And therefore, they're going to be able to vote for the NDP.
In 2 words or less, Jenny and Carleen, majority or minority, and who?
Whoever gets the most votes.
I'll echo Jenny.
All right. All right. I think my producer predicted that. All right. Thank you both. All 3 of you. We'll hopefully have you on after the election to make sense of it all. Appreciate you coming on.